She stood at the edge of the room, dressed in a white blouse and jeans, holding a small blue gift bag with shaking hands. I had never seen her before, but something in my stomach twisted the moment our eyes met. My baby shower had been filled with laughter, pink and blue balloons, and the warmth of women I trusted. But now, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I excused myself from the circle of friends giggling over diaper raffle tickets and walked toward her. She looked around as if searching for an exit, but stayed planted. Her smile was tight, her eyes glassy. "Hi," I said gently. "Are you here for Carlos?"
Her voice was calm. "Yes."
"I am here for Carlos. My husband." My heart stopped. The room behind me buzzed on, oblivious. But I felt the ground split open beneath my feet. I could not breathe. My baby kicked. My hands trembled as I tried to form words. She extended her hand, unfazed. "My name is Marie. I wanted to meet the woman carrying my husband's baby. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here and for supporting this channel. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I appreciate you deeply. And if this is your first time here, I am so glad you found this story. Please hit that subscribe button if you have not already. It is the fuel that keeps stories like this going. Also, do not forget to leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts and reactions. Now, let me take you back to how it all started. My name is Christine. I am 34 years old, living in Louisville, Kentucky. I work as a full-time nurse. I have always been independent, cautious with love, and maybe even too careful after what my ex-fiancé did years ago. But then Carlos came into my life. Carlos was charming, gentle, and spoke with that smooth confidence that made you feel like you were the only woman in the room. He told me he was recently divorced. He had a daughter from his marriage, but they had agreed to part ways quietly and peacefully. For 6 years, I loved that man. We traveled. We shared holidays. He bought me jewelry. We talked about a future. Every time I asked about the legal divorce, he would sigh and say it was taking longer due to financial disagreements. I believed him. After all, love takes trust. And I wanted to believe I had finally found the one. When I discovered I was pregnant, Carlos cried. He held me and said this was everything he ever wanted. I had never felt more loved. That baby shower was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. My friends had rented a small private room at a cozy little restaurant. There were pastel cakes, ultrasound pictures on the wall, and even a mommy to be sashed across my chest. And then Marie showed up. I stared at her, the name she gave echoing like a scream in my head. My mouth was dry. I sat down before I collapsed. She sat with me, placed the gift bag on the table like it meant something. "I found the invitation in his glove compartment," she said calmly. I had a feeling, but I never imagined this. My voice was shaky. "You are not divorced?" She smiled, sad and tired.
"No."
"We never divorced." I could hear someone call my name in the distance, maybe asking for more punch or wondering where I had gone. I could not move. My entire body froze. Carlos was still married. I was not the future. I was the other woman. And worse. I had no idea. That night, I waited for Carlos in my apartment. My feet were swollen, my back ached, and my heart felt like it had been dropped from a rooftop. I sat by the window in the dark, still in my baby shower dress, the tag from Mary's gift bag still dangling on the table. When Carlos finally walked through the door, humming like everything was normal, I stood up slowly. He stopped mid-step when he saw my face. "I met Marie," I said. He blinked. "Marie? Your wife."
Silence.
Just like that, the man I had trusted with my body, my heart, and now my baby stared at me like I was the one causing a scene. Then he laughed. "Oh, Christine, whatever she told you, it is not what it sounds like. She is unstable. She always shows up at the worst times." I felt rage rise up, hot, and acidic. She said you were still married. You lied to me. You told me you were divorced. He ran his hands through his hair and sighed. We have been separated. You know how messy divorces can be. She is just bitter. She is making this more complicated than it needs to be. You let me plan a baby shower. You let me invite my friends. You let me believe we were building a family while your real wife was still in the picture. He stepped closer. Christine, I love you.
He shows you.
She and I have been over for years. She is just trying to ruin what we have. But something in his eyes, something cold, told me he was lying again. He was not scared of losing me. He was scared of being exposed. After he left, I sat on my bathroom floor and cried until I could not breathe. I opened his drawers, scrolled through his texts, and checked his emails. I should have done that years ago. That was when I found it. An email confirmation from a wedding anniversary dinner reservation. Just last year. A hotel suite booked under Carlos and Marie Ramirez. My body shook so badly, I could barely stand. The man I had shared my bed with was a stranger. I had ignored the small red flags, the missed calls, the business trips that were too sudden to explain, the times he turned his phone screen away from me. I texted Marie. I needed answers. She agreed to meet at a quiet cafe the next morning. She looked tired, but not broken. She handed me a manila envelope filled with photos. Her wedding, their home, their daughter's birthday last spring. He is good at playing the role, she said. But you are not the only one. I stared at her. What do you mean? She pulled out her phone, opened a photo. It was a screenshot of another woman. Young, smiling, holding a drink at some rooftop bar. She messaged me 2 weeks ago, Marie said. He told her you were his ex, and that I had passed away. I felt like I had fallen into a nightmare with no exit. I was not his one and only. I was one of many. I did not eat. I did not sleep. I just watched the nursery wall and counted the lies. Carlos had built an empire of deception, and I had lived inside it like it was a home. 6 years of my life, stolen by a man who looked me in the eye every night and kissed me like I was his only truth. And now, my belly held the consequence. An innocent life wrapped inside a brutal betrayal. I blocked his number, deleted our photos, and called off the maternity photographer. I canceled everything. But what I could not cancel was the ache inside my chest. Carlos showed up 3 days later, unannounced. He knocked once, then again, then louder. I did not answer. I stood in the hallway, holding my breath as I watched his shadow shift under the doorframe. Christine, open up. Please. I made mistakes. Let me fix this. Fix? My baby kicked as if responding. I pressed a hand over my stomach and whispered, "We do not need him." I stayed quiet until he gave up and left. But he kept calling from different numbers. He sent flowers, then gifts, then voice messages crying about how he loved me, how Marie meant nothing, how the other woman was just a fling. All lies, tumbling like roaches out of the dark. The stress caught up with me. I went into labor 2 weeks early. In the middle of a Kentucky thunderstorm, I was rushed to the hospital. The lights flashed outside like warnings from heaven. Every contraction reminded me I was alone. I cried through the pain, not because of the physical toll, but because of what had been ripped from my soul. I called no one, not even my own mother, who lived 2 hours away and still thought Carlos was my dream man. But someone did come. It was not Carlos. It was Marie. She walked into the hospital room while I was being prepped for delivery. She wore a raincoat, still soaked, and held a thermos of warm tea. She sat beside me and said nothing. She just stayed. After my son was born, I looked into his eyes and saw none of Carlos. Just me. Just love. Just new beginnings. Marie whispered, "You are stronger than you think. I was where you were once, but I stayed too long. You do not have to." She held my hand while I named my baby Elijah. A week later, Carlos tried one last stunt. He showed up at the hospital with a teddy bear and a photographer. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You are not on the birth certificate. You are not welcome here. You are not my future." I pressed the nurse's call button, and Carlos was escorted out. That was the last time I saw him. I moved to a smaller apartment and started therapy. Marie and I kept in touch, not as friends, but as women who survived the same storm. And as I rocked Elijah to sleep every night, I whispered a promise into his tiny ears. I will never let anyone lie their way into our life again. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you in any way, please leave a comment. Share your thoughts, your pain, or even just your support. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need it. Because sometimes survival starts with telling the truth.